Even if the cost of silver is lower by the moment you view this video, it makes no difference. The secret is already out, and the dramatic transformation is happening. I'll clarify as we investigate. In truth, this transformation has been occurring for quite a while. Although there have been occasions where it's been muted, what occurred last trading session on Friday, September the 26th, that was a turning point, in my opinion, with a stunning movement in the overnight exchanges. Yes, that's correct. Before I describe completely, precisely what's occurring here, I wish to remind you of channel partner Summit Metals. If you wish to truly boost your fortune, well, you must boost your stack. And that is something that is a strong step that you can take and retain. Whether you're purchasing or retaining, you're boosting your fortune by possessing silver in your holdings, gold as well. And Summit Metals does offer silver, and they deliver excellent client support. They're one of the quickest expanding bullion vendors around. So check them out at summitmetals.com. So, what am I referring to here? And what is this $52.31 silver? That's correct. It is not a ruse. That is $52.31 in US. That is the 10% leap in value that we observed in overnight trade, according to a great article by Oriental Ghost over at X. He's been really chronicling the exchanges there in the Shanghai gold market and the Shanghai futures market as well, observing and chronicling what's been transpiring there. And this gap, this arbitrage prospect, has appeared so many instances when we've noticed silver's value far higher in the Asian exchanges than we have seen the US exchanges and dealing in the LBMA and COMEX. So what's happening here? Well, his article states as follows. On September the 26th, 2025, the evening trading figures on the SG and SHFE, gold at record peak, and silver has attained a fresh peak. Raw silver soared overnight by 10% to attain $52.31 in US. That's correct. And by the way, that gap I've discussed, there is no VAT or duty link with that. That is the pure figure. And by the way, this figure is somewhat distinct from what is normally recorded in terms of what the daily finish is. This is the pure silver data, pure silver value. So that's material that's coming in, or what have I. I don't know how exactly to decipher that, but that is a group there. But what's more vital is not even really so much the value that we're mentioning about in the Shanghai gold market for silver. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I'm displaying this piece here. This is China's first bullion coin since they have issued it. And actually, technically, it's a metal. It doesn't bear a face value on it, but nevertheless, it is the first one issued in bullion type since the Panda line. So I acquired one of those, paid a high markup for them. I think they're still selling for a comparatively high markup. I really don't completely grasp why. I don't believe there's a capped mintage on those. But nevertheless, it's a lovely piece that I've added to the pile. Really more to the assortment because I paid a very high markup for it. Nevertheless, this notable overnight leap in pure silver values in the Shanghai gold market and the Shanghai futures market to this $52.31 an ounce level on the 26th of September, driven by evening trading data, is outstripping now the Western yardsticks like the LBMA and the COMEX. And this is implying a possible change in global valuation control away from those exchanges, away from the Western exchanges in general, including the London Bullion Market Association and the COMEX. This is shifting the control of valuation towards China amid climbing industrial and investment appetite. And by the way, I'm taping this video before the market open. Typically, every Sunday evening, I do a market open, a market watch, and who knows what's going to occur. We could observe a reversal from this. But the reality that it occurred on a Friday and let it sit over the weekend is telling. Yes, indeed, because we've seen this before. We always notice that gap, and we've noticed that a lot really over the last few years. This spike indicates a recent analysis from the Journal of Commodity Markets, which points out that China's silver stockpile depletion, which is down 35 metric tons on the SG that week, might indicate a supply pinch. That's right. And we know that's one of the things we've been observing. Supply squeeze, silver deficit. And in the tangible sphere, that's where it really harms, for sure. Of course, that is particularly for industrial application of silver. And of course, China. We watch what goes on in China. What occurs in China is very crucial to the remainder of the globe. They're the second biggest economy in the globe, and there's been a lot of conflicting details about China's economy. An appetite for silver that's applied for fabrication of goods are utilized here in the United States, that's still occurring. And so those are the diverse aspects that are in play. And of course, when you notice the supply pinch there, well, it means something for sure. Global silver reserves estimated at under 6 months by the Silver Institute challenge the narrative of a plentiful supply in Western exchanges. So that's what's transpiring here. You know that equals to 1,200 yuan for the retail value revisions in China. This signifies that there are some regional market forces that are impacted by currency robustness and speculative acquisition. This trend is sustained by data that shows China's silver imports doubling from 2020 to 2024 per customs records in China. Now, I have been reporting on this as well on this channel for quite some time, and we know that China has been importing raw, unrefined silver, and that very well could be a part of the play in this value shift. But even if the cost of silver is lower today, this signifies that there's something happening. There's a transformation, there's an event. That this can occur in overnight trade shows a strain in the market, and we might notice it again. To me, this is a good indicator that any kind of downward trend in silver's value is probably going to just be short-lived, and we're going to see the rally proceed. Another breakout, a breakout above another breakout. This could potentially mean that we are at the brink of an even greater breakout for silver. I'm assessing all options here. There is one facet of what transpires with some of these data and how they're recorded and what they could indicate. But at this moment in time, it can only imply a favorable step for silver's value. As to how much, I don't know. But that's a fairly large step, 10%, and overnight, particularly with how they are gauging this. So, it'll be very engaging to see how this develops. But this Oriental Ghost X profile here, the person behind it does a lot of study in the exchanges there, precisely reporting what's transpiring. And I think I've been monitoring this profile for a while and find it intriguing, the reporting and the data that are shared there. So it's going to be very engaging to see how this develops and what sort of impact it's going to have on silver. Remember, we are in the center of a bull run. We're on our route towards $50. I think we're probably going to reach there, and it could occur this year, at least based off of what we have been observing with these $1 and even $2 shifts per week. And there seems to be a transformation from the short to the long stance. As I have been reporting on now, I think a month or so ago, that's really where this next breakout that we've been observing has taken place. And so the signals of it slowing down are scarce. There are more signals of silver progressing in a favorable path than an adverse path. As I had forecast in the prior consolidation or setback, it didn't last long, and then it began to rise again. And I think that the next decline, whenever, wherever, and whenever it is, and again, I'm somewhat presuming that we may observe a decline. If we're not in one now, we might observe it again sometime soon. A rise up $2 or so in a day or two is a large rise, and typically there's some sort of halt in a stage or a setback before it progresses again. I think we're kind of due for that to some extent, and we shouldn't be shocked by that. But I'm overall thrilled to see where silver goes. And to some extent, I don't believe this signifies that the economy is going to collapse. By the way, I just believe there are so many fundamentals, whether or not the economy is struggling. And I'm mentioning globally, not just in one particular nation or another. But the United States is clearly the biggest economy, so it's where most of this attention is. But nevertheless, with a GDP well above 3%, there are elements of our economy that are doing quite well. And notice I said elements. There are other elements that aren't doing so well. We recognize that. We know that some of the figures that are issued we have to question. But nevertheless, we're holding out to see what occurs with the value of silver and with the economy overall. Now, obviously, as you know, I've reported many times that I really feel, looks like this thing is a coin rather. Look at that. There's a face value on it indeed. So, it looks like with the value of silver and the market shifting the way it is, I think we probably could observe an economic setting that could sustain it climbing. Even if there are great, really good economic figures coming forward, that signifies that there's going to be more consumer drive to goods and services that need silver. Or If the economy doesn't perform so well, I think people are going to move into refuge assets more and more. I think gone are the days of surging into cryptocurrencies for a refuge. They're more speculative all over. And for those of you acquainted with this channel, I would much rather the economy perform well for everybody and silver's value drop drastically. I think that's really the bottom line. People are more prosperous when the economy performs well, and I cheer for it. All over, I don't desire the economy to fall just for a high silver value. To me, there's more to silver than just value. It's not what authenticates silver to me, and I don't believe it should for you either. That's why I don't like to concentrate on doom and despair. Obviously, you have to face it when you're talking about economics and the value of something. But I do feel firmly that no matter what transpires in the economy, I think we're going to see silver stay up or stay raised from figures that we've not noticed since before this rally. So, let me know what your opinions are in the remarks section down beneath. I hope you found this video informative, perceptive, and educational. I would like to extend a multitude of appreciation to each and every one of you for taking time to view, and to urge you to please rate, share, remark, and subscribe.